Hi, this is Whitney with PolicyPak Software, and in a previous video, we looked at how to deploy real group policy using, well, not group policy, using SCCM or some other desktop management system. In this video, we're going to learn how to create PolicyPak magic and then export it and then wrap it up in an MSI and deploy it using SCCM or some other system. So to start off with, what we need to do is create a new GPO. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to call it PolicyPak Settings. And then we're going to need to edit this. So we're starting off in group policy, but we're going to end in not group policy land. So, all right, let's just make this a little bit wider. So what I'm going to do is we're going to actually use 3 different components of the PolicyPak software. So here we go. Let's open up this node, and I'm going to use the Application Settings Manager to manage some Firefox settings. I'm going to use the Least Privilege Manager component here to make sure that my users can't download and run, well, unknownware or malicious software. And I'm going to use the browser router to make sure that everything with every URL with the word Google in it will open up in Chrome, and I'll use it also to block Facebook. So let's start off with the Application Settings Manager. There are other videos on the website that will go into greater detail on all of these components. So for today, all I want to do is just create some settings and then export them and deploy them using not group policy. So let's go ahead, let's go over here. And I want to deliver the setting that I want a particular home page to be there. So let's go with, let's just go with PolicyPak. And then let's also say that maybe we can't have users going into incognito mode. So let's go over to Extras. We're going to turn off private browsing, and we'll save that. So now that we've created these settings that will manage Firefox, how are we going to go about deploying them? Well, we'll start off by exporting them as an XML file that will then get wrapped up in an MSI that we'll deploy using a desktop management system. So we will export settings to XML data file, and I'll just put that right on the desktop. I'll just call it Firefox Settings, and there it is right there. All right, so now let's hop down to Browser Router. We're going to start on Browser Router by creating a new collection because I want to put a couple of policies in there. So let's get in there, and I'm going to add a new policy here, and I'll say Google goes to Chrome, and I'll wildcard it. We'll just say anything Google goes to Google Chrome. All right, and I'm going to add one more policy where I say no Facebook. So again, I'll just wildcard it, and I'm going to block it. And the block text, I want it to be no Facebook for you. All right, so now, once again, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to export this collection as XML, and I'm just going to call it Browser Router Settings. And there you go, pops up right there. And finally, with Least Privilege Manager, I'm just going to throw a secure run policy in place, which says basically if the item or file wasn't installed by one of these secure run members, then it won't open. So some portable app or malicious software won't be able to be accidentally downloaded by your standard user because, well, they're not on this list. So let's say OK. And let's export this as an XML. So finally, we'll just call that Secure Run Settings, I suppose. And that's that. All right, so now we've created our directives, we've exported them as XML. Now what do we do? Well, we're going to use the PolicyPak exporter tool to be able to wrap it up in an MSI that can then be deployed using any of a number of different systems, SCCM or Case or some other system. So we will go, it installs alongside the admin console MSI when you get that installed on your management station. Sometimes it's up here with the most used or recently installed. If it's not, just scroll down, find the PolicyPak folder, and you'll see the exporter tool right there. So I'm going to create a new MSI installer, and now it wants me to add existing files. So what I want to do is pick up those XML files that we had earlier. So let's grab these 3 settings, Let's open them all up. We are going to install for computer with a target of all users, and then we click next. We can give it a product name. It's what shows up on the uninstall in a program, for example, in your control panel. Let's call it PolicyPak settings, and we'll click next, and I am going to go ahead and put this actually in a shared folder. I'm going to call it PolicyPak settings. And we are good to go. Now, before we talk about deployment, I want to go over to my endpoint and look at these ungoverned policies so you can see kind of the before and after. So if I come over here and I open up Firefox, it's going to open on whatever this home page is here. And if I want to go to private browsing, well, I absolutely can because these settings aren't governed. Also, while I've got a browser up, let's go ahead and go to Google and watch it just stay in Firefox, which is to be expected because we haven't applied any browser router routes yet. So there we go. It just popped up in there, stays in Google like you would expect it to do. And finally, we talked about the least privilege manager and making sure that users can't run stuff that might be harmful. So Notepad P right here is just going to open right up. And if I go to look at some ransomware, it's just a simulator, but oh my God, now it's eating all my documents. So the users can access stuff that could be potentially very harmful, and the secure run's going to stop that in its tracks. So now we've looked at the endpoint, we've looked at the ungoverned settings. All right, let's go back to my management station here and talk about deployment. Since there are a lot of different ways to go about deploying this, I'm going to have to ask you to use your imagination and just remember you can deploy it however you're already deploying MSIs. In my case, I went ahead and I dropped it in the share folder, and so this is going to be a little manual on my end, but it's in my shared folder, so when I hop back over to my endpoint here, I can just get into that shared folder. There we go. It already knows where I wanted to go. And we're going to go with the PolicyPak settings here. And I'm just going to install it by hand. Like I said before, if you were using SCCM or other systems management, then you would be able to do this completely silently just in the background. All right, so now if I come up here and I go to my control panel and I want to look at I'm going to look at uninstalling the program. I'm not actually uninstalling anything. I just want to point out that we have the client-side extension is already on this machine that's been previously deployed. So that has to be there in order for the settings to work. And then right here, PolicyPak settings, we have them set right here. So now that we've done this, when we go to our settings that used to be ungoverned, we'll find out a new thing. So let's open up Firefox and see what happens. And there we go. We have our homepage set to policypak.com, just like we told it to. And when we come here, we can no longer get into the incognito mode. So we kind of ripped the knob off of that one. We set this homepage, and that was done using the application settings manager. So now if we go, actually, let's hop back into Firefox here, and let's see what happens if we try to go to, say, Google. There we go. It closed out Firefox and it's going to pop us right open. There we go, in Chrome, just like we told it to, because we created that route. So anything with Google in it is going to close down the tab of whatever it's in, and now it opens in Chrome. If we try to go to Facebook, let's see what happens. Nope, no Facebook for us. We blocked that website using the browser router. So finally, we talked about least privilege managers. Let's see if we can get into the Notepad P anymore. Nope, sure can't. If I go to the ransomware simulator and try to open that up, it's been blocked. So we looked at creating application settings using the application settings manager. We used the least privilege manager to lock down the machine and make sure that users couldn't run anything harmful. And we used the browser router to send everything Google to Chrome and blocked Facebook. Then we exported those settings, we wrapped them up in an MSI, and I deployed it by hand. You'll deploy it using SCCM or Case or whatever you have. If this is interesting to you, let us know and we'll get you started on a free trial right away. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.